Hey, so a couple of months ago, I was interviewing to a place and they asked me to submit a home assignment as a product manager. Full disclosure, I hate home assignments. I only do them to companies which I really, really want. And I put a cap of time of investment. I think in this case, I put in 2 or 3 hours. I'm not sure. So I basically set the appetite and then I do whatever I do. And at the time, I kind of wrap up usually. So I think I'm sharing this in the hope I'll achieve two things. One, if you're a product manager wanting to work on a home assignment, you have a reference of something that I did. This was a good assignment. I passed to the next phase. I ended up not getting the job. They told me I was too senior for the role, but that's part of the game. And my second hope is that um, LinkedIn actually builds this because I think it will be an amazing feature. So let's go. And like, share any feedback you want. Will only help me improve and enjoy. So pull out your knives and poke holes in this thing. All right. So the outline. Um, I'm going to go through why I think this is a problem worth solving, a suggestion for a solution, and some trade offs, downsides, and how to measure it eventually. Basically, the standard product management assignment. Pick a feature you worked on and a feature you would like to see in a platform and break it down. So, the overview. I start with the problem definition or why is it worth solving. So, LinkedIn is a professional social network, but so many times the connections are not real and mutual connections aren't useful. And the network LinkedIn is basically failing at a core feature for me as a user, which is allowing me and increasing the rate in which I'm making meaningful business connections. Um, so why is this stuck now? All right. So basically, I'm looking at Marty Kagan's profile and I see these people and I don't even remember who this guy is. And I don't know if this guy can really intro me to Marty. Like, I think it's an open question. So basically, this is not really useful for me. And LinkedIn is losing here on a number of levels. First of all, like, I don't have trust in connections, so they become very cheap. Communication leaves the platform, as I'll show you in a moment, an example which I'm sure you experienced. And LinkedIn is losing on the opportunity to become a real connection tool and not just like a presentation layer or something like that. And I think there's also potential for financial upside here, but that's once the feature is proven to be useful, you can add it to premium users. And maybe it already exists, and I don't know. I'm not a premium user on LinkedIn, so let me know if I'm missing out on something. Once again, there's a bug in the Google call. So this is an example of the communication leaving the platform. So a friend saw this post on LinkedIn. He took a screenshot of the post, and what he could see is that I like the post. I'm a first connection with the guy posting. That's why my friend saw that there was a second connection. And he sent me like, do you know this guy? In WhatsApp, all right? This is WhatsApp. And I wrote him, yeah, is great. We work together. So like my friend did not trust at all LinkedIn telling him that we know each other, me and the poster, and he wanted to reach out to him. So, first of all, this left LinkedIn to WhatsApp. And second of all, there's no trust in the connection. And again, this is an anecdote, but anybody who's used LinkedIn for like intros and stuff like this know this dance. Can you introduce me and stuff like this? So, here's my suggestion. LinkedIn intros, bake intros into the LinkedIn platform and use the intro data as a mapping tool or a vote to increasing the likelihood of a real connection. So if you're asking me to intro you to person C and I do that, first of all, it increases the vote of confidence with me and you because I'm willing to introduce you to person C. And if C accepts the introduction, it's a higher indication for my relationship with C. So it's another like a measure of real communication, and not just a follow without any grade, let's call it, or an indication of the force of the connection between the different parties. You can build your network based on people you already trust within LinkedIn by asking for intros, relevant intros, not just spamming. And the fourth part of the solution is to keep it really low. Basically, the role of a product manager is always to give value to the user and reduce risk to the business. All right, create value and reduce risks to the business. So, in order to keep it really simple, I'll heavily base it on LinkedIn's messaging or email capabilities. A bit confusing, but we can choose one of these two messaging options. And again, I have to go back one. Something very weird is going here with the animations probably. Out of scope, adding this into the settings and opt-out capabilities and this sort of stuff. How do I know this person? So this is another layer of information that is really missing from LinkedIn in my view. But let's say I'm connected to person B and I come back to the platform 6 months later and I look at person B. I don't remember at all how we met. Was it in a meetup? Did we work together? Like just a connection. Again, stupid information, which for the intro purposes, I think is very important, but I left it out for now. And I think LinkedIn can become a PRM, personal relationship management, but that's down the line. And something I'm super excited about, by the way, PRM, but again, out of the scope here. And seeing and managing intro requests. We'll just treat requests as messages in the platform and we'll keep it simple for now. If or once the feature proves to be valuable, we can expand it. But for now, I'm keeping it simple. All right, so what this might look like. And I'm going to go and use my favorite tool for mapping flows, which is Miro. All right, so first of all, we start with entities. We have 3 entities in this flow, and that's the requester, the person who wants to meet somebody, the introducer, who's the person that can make the intro, connect person A and person C, the requester, and the person of interest, the person that the requester wants to meet. That was very confusing, and I'm open to changing the language, but for the purpose of this presentation, we're going to move on. All right, so this guy wants to meet this guy, and this guy is the connection. And the flow will be, I view the page of the person I want to meet. I want to get an intro, and I request an intro. So I'm going to break it down, but like I do a high level breakdown of the flow. Then I do a more detailed breakdown of the elements of each steps. And again, it's based on a breadboarding. So read the Shape Up book about breadboarding. And eventually I went and used like real visuals from the LinkedIn platform and baked them into the solution. Oops, before I zoom in, let's block this. The reason I didn't map out these 2 views, which are ready, is because I hit the limit. I hit the mark of 2.5 hours or 2 hours, I don't remember. And I decided I'm going to stop, but this can be flushed out even more. That's the reason you're not seeing like visuals all the way. I thought it was good enough to communicate the message. Was it wise? I don't know. So the solution. This is again, requester, introducer, the person of interest. So I'm seeing Marty Kagan's page and I want to get intro to Marty, and I'm seeing the mutual connections, but nobody has a clue if they're relevant. So I added like the get introduced button. And once I click this button, it will open the mutual connections view, but I added like a request intro, and you can click the request intro button next to a person and it will open like a view, intro request, and it says, hey, would you be willing to introduce me to Marty Kagan? And the purpose of the intro, which I can write here, something along this line, send intro request. and you get an intro request sent. I just use some of the modules LinkedIn already has. And the introducer basically just gets a message saying, I don't know who Jonathan Spenter is, so I don't even know it's a real person, but all right. He gets a direct message or an email. And in mail, I'm not sure what's the difference, so I don't want to go into this deep of like resolutions, but obviously it does have to be flush. So he gets a message just like, hey, Jonathan, Eitan wants to be introduced to Marty Kagan. This is the purpose of the intro, which we requested over here. And then they can do like decline, write an intro, or decline with note, basically like cold decline or warm decline. And no matter what he clicks here, all right, it will open a message. It will be a reply for this message, but it can be pre-populated, like decline, not decline. I'm just saying, sorry, I do not want to respond. We can debate if it should or not, but that's a different discussion. So let's say he clicks write an intro. It will open a message between introducer and person of interest. And again, it can be an email, in-mail, a LinkedIn email, or a message, and it can be pre-filled with like a suggestion, a template. Hey, Marty, Eitan wants to meet you. I know him from, he's a great guy. The level of certainty I have this will be a good connection is, and I decided to send the email or the message only to the person of interest because, in my opinion, intros need to be double opt-in. Both sides need to opt in, and I do not want to just put somebody on the spot. So by default, I'll go just with this person, but I can understand like how somebody would add the other person to the message. It's possible, but I would try and do only this. But again, totally opinionated, not data backed or something like that. And like culturally, the way I would want the world to happen. And you send the request, so you get a confirmation it was sent, and you can go back to your profile, which IMAP doesn't need above, just because that's the basic mechanism of messaging. Cool. And then Marty, our person of interest, get an intro message from the introducer. Hey, Eitan wants to meet you, blah, 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 everything we wrote in this part. And he can respond to that with a decline, a block, accept intro, whatever we want. And this is where it gets a bit tricky. We can decide that if they click request, it connects immediately person of interest and the requester, or we can go the traditional method of just telling this guy to introduce the two. But I think that by now you kind of got the gist of it. So that's more or less the feature I suggested, and I would love to see it in LinkedIn. I'm going back to the slide deck. Trade-offs and downsides. So there's high spamming potential here. So I would think of like putting in limits or putting like a manual effort that you need to put in. You cannot just click request and it sends out things. I think that will be very bad. You must add a message or something. Awkwardness. So let's say person A approaches me and says, can you intro me to Marty? But like, I don't want to intro person A to Marty and I don't know how to decline. So this is something we can bake into the feature, but we need to keep in mind. Lack of trust. I don't trust the requester. I get too many intro requests, which are basically spamming me. And the introducer isn't really sure what's in it for him. I'm a true believer in networking, and I think that if you help two people, eventually it will pay off. Not everybody thinks that way. So obviously there are a few more issues, but these are what I had in mind. And what would like a good outcome look like? So the number of intro requests sent per person that we open the feature or in total, the percent of the intro requests that were accepted. So requester to introducer, and what's the percent that were accepted? The percent of requests accepted between the introducer and the person of interest. So the other bridge that we need to cross. So this would be like a quantity gauge, and these two will be a quality gauge. And eventually, I think it's not part of the MVP, but seeing how many people opted out of getting intro requests, or the percent of people, or something like that. And again, it's not part of the MVP, but that would be an indication for me. So I think that's a wrap. That's the end of my assignment. I had half an hour to present it. I went through it now in 15 minutes, and obviously I got questions along the way and this sort of stuff. It was a good outcome. They like what I did here. So I think it was a good thing and a good feature from me to show. And again, I'd be more than happy if LinkedIn builds this thing. I have way more thoughts about this and LinkedIn as a PRM. Shoot me a message if you're interested, because I really dig these things. Hope it's helpful for you. Ciao.